This is Defenders TV Podcast, episode 77, where we are looking at Luke Cage, season 1, episode 3, Who's Gonna Take the Weight?
You think I'm holding back? You think I'm holding back? I'm out to save you.
Welcome back, Defenders, to this explosive episode of Defenders TV Podcast, episode 77, where we are looking at Who's Gonna Take the Weight, the third episode of this season of Luke Cage. I am one of your hosts, John.
I'm your second host, Chris.
And I'm your final host, Derek. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. Okay, that happened.
Yeah.
Woo! I could not believe it. Poor Connie.
What an episode.
Yeah.
What an episode. Well, obviously we are going to spoil everything about episode 3. We are watching episode by episode and recording our podcast directly afterwards. So, there is going to be full spoilers for episode 3. Get out of here if you haven't seen it. Go watch it. Come back to us. But yeah, wow.
Yeah, that was a fairly huge thing to happen for episode 3. I mean, I suppose we'll get into it a bit more in the discussion. Yeah, it was maybe slightly unexpected, I would say, given the previous sort of 50 minutes of the episode.
Definitely. But before we get into our episode, the one thing I do want to say, we didn't get the chance in our first 2 episodes to have a big shout out and a big thank you for our new theme tune. Our brand new theme tune for Luke Cage has been provided again by Mississippi McDonald and the Cottonmouth Kings, which I think is absolutely brilliant. They've provided all 3 of our theme tunes for our Defenders podcasts and our theme tune for Gotham as well. I love the fact that his band is called the Cottonmouth Kings and has been for over 2 years.
Yeah,
well
absolutely.
before this show started. And I only made the connection after receiving our theme tune for this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thanks so much to Oliver, who is the Mississippi McDonald, the lead singer for the band. Really appreciate the work that's gone into doing our opening and closing theme. It's really sweet of you. And yeah, a big shout out. And if anyone wants to check out Mississippi McDonald and the Cottonmouth Kings, their album has been, I think it still is, number 1 in the UK blues chart.
It's pretty darn good too.
It's really good. You can go over to www.mississippimcdonald.com. Yeah.
That's it. So the big problem with Mississippi McDonald, search it up on the internet. It'll tell you how to spell it, but it's MISSIPPIMACDONALD.com, right? So you have to remember how to spell Mississippi. That's the one big challenge being a fan of Mississippi McDonald, because I always miss out one of the S's or one of the P's. So
yeah,
I think that's right.
You can go follow him on Twitter as well. If you're into blues or, then please, check out Mississippi McDonald, definitely.
That's right.
I'm more impressed that Derek just actually spelt Mississippi McDonald's. See, I can't even say Mississippi McDonald's. I'm just like, that was one take, people. Come on, give a round of applause.
That was pretty impressive. Huh? Or I'll make it sound like one take in the edit. Anyway.
Yes.
But I think that's enough of the praise for Mississippi. Absolutely love the tune, though. Hopefully you guys are enjoying that as well. I think it gives a little bit of a fresher feel for our coverage of Luke Cage.
Absolutely. And of course, we've told you where you can find Mississippi McDonald for ourselves. Please go to defenderstvpodcast.com/iTunes or search Defenders TV Podcast in any good podcast catcher that you use to listen to podcasts. And of course, our lovely dulcet tones will come pouring through the earphones. You can also join our community and the discussion in our groups over on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/groups/Defenders TV Podcast. And of course, to round out it all, we're also on Twitter at DefendersCast. And feedback at defenderstvpodcast.com. For any comments, thoughts about any of the episodes, please send them in and we'll feature them in the feedback section of our podcasts.
Yeah, we're starting to get some feedback in now. It's good as people are watching the episodes. Pretty good reaction from the press and pretty good reaction from reviewers to Luke Cage so far as the first weekend of the show continues. And just so you're aware of it, we'll be releasing our episodes every Tuesday and Friday until we've gone through all 13 episodes of Luke Cage. Still trying to work out out exactly the timing on it because we know Doctor Strange comes out on the 25th of October, which we're trying to work out whether that's after the 13 episodes or there might be a gap of 1 week. There might be a week that will do our Doctor Strange coverage. But just trying to work it out. Anyway, come back every Tuesday and Friday. You'll find the new episode up there on DefendersTVPodcast.com.
And just a bit of breaking news. There was the release of a little Iron Fist nugget, dropped by Netflix. A dragon nugget, in fact, of a dragon forming from an incense bowl, and a quick flash to the Iron Fist using his fist, which was pretty cool. And there are a lot of bodies on the floor, I hasten to add, which may also have been have received the fist as well.
Yes.
from Danny Rand. And more importantly, it is dropping March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day. And of course, we will potentially be doing a lovely drunken episode.
We could live tweet it drunken. It'd be amazing.
Very possible, but I want to give total credit to Rebecca Braddour, who commented the fact, obviously, we will have Oh Danny Boy on Patrick's Day next year. So, good one, Rebecca. I was laughing about that one for a while. Yeah, very excited to see Danny Rand, the second half of the Heroes for Hire, coming in March 2017.
The thing is that, and another thing. That will be our podcast on March 17th.
Or we just start drinking at 8 a.m., 8:01 when it drops, and then every subsequent hour and recording that day just becomes illegible. Inaudible, I should say.
There are those podcasts that are out there that are done drunk.
Oh, absolutely. There's the Drunken Movies podcast that I know very well. There's Drunken History is a huge popular TV show, so maybe it's an option for us.
Okay.
But just a reminder, that is the same day that Daredevil Season 2 dropped this year, dropped on March 17th, and we didn't do a drunken podcast for that one, so you never know, We may not.
Yeah, but it's Danny Boy now, we have to.
I wonder, will he also have a fight in an Irish bar?
Oh, one question. Why, as the caption, when they released it, did they use Breathe Deep, #Iron Fist?
Yeah, I presume Breathe Deep, it's to do with the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or the incense, or something like that.
Or just, that whole element of like yoga and meditation where you're controlling your breathing, that type of thing.
All good. But are you guys excited about Danny Rand coming on March 17th next year?
I am.
Big time. Back to some segue that we don't have in the recording for episode 3. Yeah, with Luke Cage and with Doctor Strange, we've got the Defenders all sorted.
Mm-hmm. Defendtober? Is that a thing?
No. Just no.
It could be.
It could be.
Oh God, it's gonna happen, people.
Defendtober, absolutely.
There you go.
Oh, start the hashtag now.
Moving into Defember.
It gets too much of a tongue twister after a while.
It does. I think it's about time to get into this episode of Luke Cage. Episode 3, Who's Gonna Take the Weight? This episode was written by Matt Owens. Interestingly, Matt Owens is a staff writer and was a story editor over on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but this seems to be his first big story credit, and got a full episode of a Netflix TV show as his first story credit. I think that's quite cool. Looks like they're already getting some new talent on board for Luke Cage. A pretty good episode overall, I think, as well.
Has he left Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or was he just kind of...
He was a story editor, which means that he works in the writer's room but doesn't get credits for the overall overarching episodes. So it looks like he's moved over and done some work with Luke Cage. He was called a staff writer in the final credits as well. So it looks like he got the job title of staff writer and has been given the story credit for this episode. So that's quite cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So he obviously had some big contribution to this episode if he wasn't the sole writer for it.
It's the ending, basically.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. But even bigger, the director of this episode is Guillermo Navarro. Guillermo Navarro used to work very, very closely with the wonderful Guillermo del Toro. He worked as the cinematographer on all the way from Kronos, one of Guillermo del Toro's first films, right up to Pan's Labyrinth. He worked in about 7 or 8 films with him.
Wow.
This is his first big directorial job working on Luke Cage. So he's moved over into the world of Marvel now, which is quite cool.
Very
Bring
cool.
some of the Pan's Labyrinth. That's gonna.
That would be very odd.
Yeah.
Maybe if Doctor Strange walked in, we
Yeah.
might see a bit of the Pan's
Astral
Labyrinth
Pain.
side. But there you go. Those are the details of the people involved in the show. John, do you want to tell us the synopsis for who's going to take the weight?
Sure. In the aftermath of the shootout at Pop's barbershop at the hands of Cottonmouth's associate Tone, Pop is dead and Chico is seriously injured in hospital. As Luke tries to come to terms with the events, he is determined, with the help of Bobby Fish, to keep Pop's barbershop open for the sake of Harlem and its community. He heeds the wise words of Pop and his call to action, forward always. Set on a new path, Luke Cage begins to target Cornell Stokes' crimes, operations, and safe houses to hit him where it hurts, in his pocket. This culminates in an audacious raid on the bank at the Crispus Attucks building. Luke's work in Harlem does not go unnoticed, as Detective Knight becomes increasingly suspicious of Cage's involvement in the attacks against Cottonmouth and the events at the barbershop. However, Cottonmouth is one step ahead of the cops, as his inside man in the NYPD reveals after killing Chico that Luke Cage is the man behind the attacks. With this new information, Cottonmouth looks to settle the score and launches an unexpected attack on Luke Cage at Genghis Connie's with explosive ramifications.
I like that. Launches an unexpected attack on Luke Cage at Genghis Connie's with explosive ramifications. Nice job, John. Nice job. Very impressed. I think we've already given kind of our overview of what we thought of the episode. So just to let new listeners know, the way we cover our episodes is we go through our top 5 points about the episode. Some good, some possibly bad, some in between, and then we decide whether we defend the episode or not.
Before we get into it, I just have one thing. The Mysterious Soul Man, singing in Harlem Paradise is a fantastic guy called Charles Bradley.
That's right.
And the song in which is now my obsession, and probably yours and listeners too, is called Ain't It a Sin.
So good.
Like, seriously, where has this guy been all my life? I was like,
Very cool.
and I've listened now, I've gone off to Spotify, I've gone to Google Play Music, and I've checked them, like, there's great music, it continues to be as good as that.
Excellent.
But this is like, I was just like, I wasn't expecting to find a level of caliber there in terms of going, okay, yeah, no, I'm going to take that. That's going in my pocket.
It's so good. And the tune itself is really, it's a really expressive tune for the episode. It does talk about the fact that, you're trying to live your life well, trying to live your life on the right side, going by the Lord's direction. But there are times that you need to break out. And is it a sin? Is this a sin effectively? Is what I'm doing, going to be seen badly by the Lord? Taking out your frustrations on other people kind of thing. So it works really well in this particular episode.
Yeah, no, it's just a fantastic, fantastic piece of music. Sorry, Derek, I interrupted you there, but now I've got that out of my system.
All good.
That was a good sin. You want to kick off?
All good. My first point, as it has been for the last 2 weeks, is about the title for the episode. Who's Gonna Take the Weight is also a song by Gang Starr, as all 13 episodes have been named after songs by Gang Starr. The song Who's Gonna Take the Weight is really, very simply, it is about people banding together to take on a power against them, or working together to take on a power that's against them. So, very simply, that is why this song was chosen for the episode. It's exactly what Luke's doing. He's working with Chico, who's trying to get the cops involved to finally take down Cottonmouth. So that's very much why the song was chosen. A very simple one again, this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it ties really nicely into the whole thing of Pop and his saying, you know, forward always. It's that moment where Luke realizes he has to step up and take the weight of what Pop used to do, which is to be a kind of a neutral ground or a binding influence, in Harlem for the community. So, you know, it works equally well, and it is really poignant for the fact that, you know, Pop was taken out. So yeah, really nice choice, of tune, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they've lost that support structure really for them in Harlem, which I think is quite cool that Luke's going to take this on as we go forward.
Switzerland has been overrun. It is no more.
That's right. Yeah.
But I like also the fact that, you know, Bobby Fish and Luke Cage, like, really are trying to keep it going. They want to make sure that the bank or another buyer doesn't get their hands on the barbershop.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite whether anybody can actually cut hair or not. Chris, do you want to give us your first point?
Well, my first point, I'm going to do a John on it. I have 2 points as part of my first point, okay?
Right.
What's
So,
a John?
I
Other
don't
than
know.
a toilet.
Well,
A John is when we ask for 1 point and we get 6.
yeah.
Yay.
It's always fun one, especially when it's the first. But, okay, I'm going to start backwards and then move in.
Okay.
So, what I want to talk about is the Holly scene,
Uh-huh.
which is probably points for all of us.
Of course you wanted to choose that as your first point. though.
I could too. But my first point is the bullet-riddled hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
That's shot where he's in the room and he's literally, it's just bullet-riddled to hell.
Yeah.
That's so poignant.
Really good, isn't
And
it?
it was just framed perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the feeling that was done very much on purpose.
Right.
And now some of our American listeners will probably know more, but I get the feeling that was, I've seen that shot before.
Right.
So I do believe it's something from an actual real life incident that may have happened
Right.
in the last year or so, wearing a similar hoodie because it was pulled up and tightened around.
Yeah.
And I just felt it was a very poignant scene, and I feel very deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
That just shot.
Yeah, no, I'm certain there's definitely, you can read in a lot about the shootings that have happened in the US over the last year. You could definitely read in that that's what these scenes are about, that he's being gunned down, or people are being gunned down, quite a lot, in this episode. And I think that's definitely a commentary about what's going on in America, regardless of what they say. It is definitely some kind of commentary about what's going on in America. But yeah, beautifully shot scene, beautifully shot moment.
Yeah. Continuing on. So the song that they use in the scene is Wu-Tang Clan's Bring the Ruckus.
Yes, it is.
I believe it's from their debut album, Enter the Wu-Tang. But I'm always open. This is not my area of expertise.
Right.
If it was a fictional rap group in the Marvel universe, I probably would know it better. And it's a great choice. But I had one problem with this. And because it actually caught me off guard straight away, is that it's a sanitized version of the song.
Right.
In which they take the F word out of it, which I find really weird because throughout they used, we discussed already, the gritty realism that they've already kind of, the actors have spoken worse, in my opinion, words than the F word.
Right.
But then the song itself had to be sanitized. And I just don't understand it.
It is interesting, and I wonder, there's a great little touch in this show, and we talked about it before. We actually do still have our swear jar in play. A great little touch in this show from the first episode, and one of the first things you hear is in the barbershop, working near Pop, nobody curses. If you curse, you pay the money, basically. And they've had that going on all the way through. We had it in the barbershop in the second episode. You see the swear jar getting shot at. In this episode, you see Luke Cage sitting in his house, staring at the swear jar in his hand. And now you have the Wu-Tang Clan moment, and it's without the swears in the song. And I love this idea that they're keeping this concept of, we don't swear on Marvel shows on Netflix, but we have a reason why, because Luke doesn't agree with swearing either. So remember, he puts the headphones in his ears for the Wu-Tang Clan song, and he's listening to a sanitized version of the Wu-Tang. Still has the same power to the song, but doesn't have the cursing in it. Just thought about that. Just think that's a really interesting touch.
Yeah,
isn't it?
okay, because then it's the song that Luke is listening to is sanitized because he doesn't like swearing, but that allows the other characters who have to date been the ones swearing to swear.
Isn't that an interesting idea?
Ah, okay. I didn't think about it. I was really annoyed by this.
Yeah.
Like, the guys can attest to. I came in and we were chatting after watching it. This is what I talked about. This annoyed the hell out of me because I was like, but it makes no sense. Like, they've used worse words and but now, actually.
Isn't that an interesting idea though?
It is interesting.
Now I have to say I had a very similar experience this week. I was listening to Deezer. I was listening to just my flow on Deezer, and weirdly, NWA's Straight Outta Compton popped up in the middle of my flow, probably because I've been listening to a lot of music for Luke Cage and a lot of the Luke Cage playlists. But it was the sanitized version of Straight Outta Compton. And I had your reaction, which is going, why would you have Straight Outta Compton with no curse words in it? It sounds like the weirdest song. The whole point of it is, we're from the street, we talk like the street, we have this language, this is how we speak. And they cut all the curse words out of it. It's so weird. So yeah, I had that reaction. But I like that this touch of the swear jar and not swearing has been carried on through that.
Call me old school, but this is why you shouldn't do Deezer, you shouldn't do Spotify, you should own your own version.
Absolutely. I was going to send in a complaint, to be honest.
It's not.
How dare
it's
you
not.
sanitize my music?
Sanitize your music. Choose what music it is that you can access. I think on that democratic note, my point also links in with this. It's the flying sofa. It's the corridor fight. It's that, this is Luke Cage's, Daredevil moment along the corridor, to some extent, or you can read it like that. And I just thought it was really good. We've got car doors, we've got, masonry, we've got pipe work, we've got the sofa. There's, cell doors all being used against Cottonmouth's cronies. He's chucking people into the ceiling, into the walls. People are running. It's just quality. I really liked it. I loved how he folds the door around one of the guys, and then he uses the sofa, just spins it around, knocking them all over. And of course, you see it at the start where this sofa just comes flying out of the window, and you see it again. Really, really good stuff. And I mean, I like the idea. Yeah, this guy is being riddled with bullets and is still there, still standing, still going about his business. And yeah, you could see that, as I've said already, that metaphor, for it doesn't matter how many bullets you throw, we will still be there. And we will be still coming at you, to get justice, and to do the right thing. So really cool. And I mean, whether it was written for that reason, who knows, but you can certainly have that, sort of thought, given the events going on. So I thought this was a great corridor fight. I suppose with current events, quite a nice little political kind of, nod to what's going on. This is, to me, is Luke Cage's sort of Daredevil, corridor fight. And I loved it.
Yeah, it was also a point for me. There's two specific things that stood out as being very Luke Cage about it. And great things, a great way of doing it in the show. Firstly, I love that we see it from the outside of the building as our cold open for the episode. We see the guns going off, lots of flashes. The sofa comes out the window, and then it goes into him walking out of the building. Exactly. Him walking out of the building with the money, So you know what's going to happen. You've seen it in the trailers, but I love that you see it from the outside first, and then it goes inside and takes you step by step through the whole thing. The second thing that makes this Luke Cage rather than Matt Murdock, the big difference between the two is Matt's going to save a kid, when he's doing his corridor scene, and he's going off to left and right, taking out 5 or 10 guys. That's about it. Luke walks into a room, stands there, waits for a ton of guys to come in, that stares them all down and goes, just bring it, He is there to kick the hell out of every single one of them in there so that he can get at the money and open the gates so the police can capture all the money, He's doing it for a very different reason, and he also wants to actually beat the hell out of the guys that kills Pops.
Well, absolutely. And it's the money minus one bag, obviously, to help, secure the barbershop. There's that moment where one of the guys jumps on his back and he just does the shoulder flick back, and the guy just pops off into the wall. Very cool. And Luke Cage is much more, thuggish isn't the right word. Brutal, It's it is much more fists and punch. And as you say, standoff, compared to Daredevil. But I like that. I mean, this is a guy that uses his environment. I mean, I love where he just chucks his hand into the plasterboard and rips out one of the pipes and starts smacking it around the body and heads of all the attackers coming at him. So this guy is a good Boy Scout. He uses his environment to help him.
Absolutely. Always be prepared. Yeah, definitely. I like that we got to see what you were looking for, Chris, as well. This is the 3rd episode now, and we see a full force kick to a guy who flies almost the entire length of the corridor into the lift. I thought that was quite cool to finally get to see a bit of that as well.
What I loved about this is that, it's an obvious call out that this is Luke Cage hallway scene. But it's not trying to be Daredevil's hallway scene. No. And that it wasn't a single tracking shot. I think if they had done the tracking shot, we all would have gone, it doesn't really, I don't think it would have worked. I think this is more about showing, as I said, the word brutal, Luke's brutal style.
Absolutely.
Which is as you said, use the environment. Will not kill, but he's gonna knock you unconscious and break some of your teeth and bones. The bit that I was listening to it really loud last night, and they get into that sofa scene part, and he drops the sofa, or before he throws the sofa, you can hear people's bones breaking.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's very audible.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
it's not just-
He's
yeah.
snapping arms left, right, and centre there, yeah.
Yeah, and
he's
but
taking
then
him
the
out.
guy with the machete,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know if you guys noticed, it looks like the machete breaks.
Oh, really? No, I
Snaps.
didn't see that.
Yeah,
That's
it's-
cool.
I was like, that's a nice touch.
Yeah.
But I think the bit I loved is, okay, we knew we were going to get something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Something like the hallway scene. It's been now a staple for Marvel and Netflix. We have Daredevil 1, Daredevil 2. Was there one in Jessica Jones?
Jessica's fight against Luke.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah.
Jessica's fighting against Luke. So it was every season so far or series has had one of these.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they had have done it Daredevil, it wouldn't have worked. I think this worked in that he had the smirk on when he reaches through the bars and the guys, there was a very slow motion part where the guy had like a very heavy assault rifle.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he was firing from between the bars.
Yeah.
And you could see they obviously slowed it down quite a fair amount.
Yeah.
But the bit I still don't know, and I would love to know how they do it, is how they were burning and singeing Luke's hoodie while he was walking
Yeah.
and slowed down. And it doesn't, you know the way they would have splatter effects for blood and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. That I understand how it works. That squibs, it's a small bit of explosive underneath a fake bit of skin.
Yeah.
And there's blood packs. But how they were burning Slight. Now, I'm wondering if
They're pretty much the same thing. They just don't attach the butt pack, and it has a little bit more explosives in them.
Oh, okay.
Interestingly, I heard Mark Coulter talk about it and say how painful these things are on him
Wow.
because they are quite explosive. They are a form of explosives. Very small,
Yeah.
obviously. They're not trying to blow off his arm or anything, but he has said that he has to not react to them
Yeah.
because his character wouldn't react. If he's getting shot hundreds of times, he can't react to them. But for him, it's like a little pinch every single time. You know, just a little pinch. But if you're getting, 20 or 30 pinches across your
Well,
body,
yeah.
I'd squeal like a girl.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do have another point that's connected to this, so I'm just going to drop it in here. It's about just Misty's investigation into and finding out that Luke is the guy, realizing that Luke is the guy. I love that she puts a nail on it and says, we are still dealing with a comic book superhero here. Yeah. So we've just seen him go in, beat the hell out of hundreds of guys, but she calls out the fact that not only did he not steal all of the money, he walks away with one bag. Why would you do that? Well, he's not a villain, so he's not there to steal the money. And he also doesn't kill anybody in the room. So again, comic book superhero. He doesn't kill anybody. So I like that she puts that little fine point on it here. While he is a guy that's really tough, really brutal, and kicks hell out of everybody around him, he is still a comic book hero. He is still somebody you can get behind. He's not doing anything bad here. He's not doing anything too bad here.
Yeah. I was like,
He's leaving villains, sending them off to prison. It's something that you would see in every single comic book, from Spider-Man to Superman to
Yeah.
Batman to any of the other comic book heroes. This is what they do.
Well, I mean, like, I love the suspicion that she has here, because, she has her phase out where she's kind of in her own kind of detective world, and she's kind of seeing Luke Cage as the person, at Pops' barbershop doing the Cottonmouth stuff, and attacking his safe houses. So, like, I love the fact that in this, this episode, and to be honest, at this moment within the season, that for everyone else, for the audience, he is the hero. She's the one that's still questioning his motives, or whether it's him. But
Yeah.
it's still a suspicion. She's not confirmed in her own mind that it is, but she is definitely there saying, I have to, like, follow him or get the evidence. Like,
Yeah.
she's certain it's him, but, like, it's still a big suspicion. And she brings it back to the fact that she calls out he's a vigilante, and that this brings chaos. And I love that kind of conversation between her and Raphael Scarf, where, she's going, he has no training, he has no right to mete out any of this justice. That's for us. And I love that Raphael is kind of like going, yeah, but I hate paperwork. We have to deal with lawyers. I'm quite happy to sit back and effectively let this guy do our job. And she kind of takes a bit of umbrage at that, well, this is our job. That's the point. And it is this, vigilante versus the law enforcement,
Yeah.
like we've had in Daredevil as well. But I love how Misty Knight says to Raphael, you are a credit to the badge Scarf, aren't
Absolutely.
you? And I think I'm just going to take my next point here, which is the pig on the payroll, and Scarf being in the pocket of Cottonmouth. Now, I have to say, and I'm absolutely genuine here, through this episode, I was thinking Scarf felt slightly detached from Misty Knight. And then when there was the car parked in the dodgiest spot ever, I was like, okay, something's going down here. And for me, it was like, is it that Scarf, I didn't know that Scarf was going to kill Chico, but it was definitely, has Scarf brought him to that location so that he can be taken out and handed over? Or we see him obviously then taking his tie off and all that and then strangling him. Yeah. And I have to say, before it happened, I just went, this location is way too dodgy, for Scarf to be, genuine here. And I must say, it's a great little twist for that character because, I think in the comics, he is actually just an out and out detective and good guy. I'm not aware of whether he has this kind of duplicitous kind of role. Now, if someone else knows, that would be really useful.
He's not hugely well developed in the comic books. He's had guest appearances over the years. You've seen him,
but he's
in
generally
issues.
a good guy. He's a supportive guy. He's
a
not.
cop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's what I mean.
he's never had a huge big storyline at all. Really, he's just been a New York police officer. Who's worked with Misty in the past.
not.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. So it's a real good development for the character then, if that's the case, definitely.
Yeah.
But like, I love this pig on the payroll. I mean, it is very similar to, Fisk with his, his tentacles throughout, the New York and, in law enforcement, the DA's office and all that. And again, we're seeing that Harlem is no different. There's still, this corruption that flows through the area just as much as anywhere else in this world in the MTU, I suppose. So really loved, seeing Scarf have his little twist and like him walking into Cottonmouth Club, like absolutely cocksure.
Oh, wow.
Really
Great scene.
Just good.
I love Frank Wally in that scene. Just absolutely great.
So good.
Yeah, just so much confidence walking into the bar, taking the probably the most expensive bottle of alcohol off the top shelf, pouring himself a drink, sitting down and going, I am your man right here. I have got everything you wanted on a plate here. I know who's been striking you. I've also taken out Chico. I'm number one guy here. What does he says to him? I'll give up the guy that's been doing everything for you if you play nice with me. He's now in control with Cottonmouth, or he feels he is. For the moment.
Yeah, for the moment.
I mean, given that Cottonmouth had a baseball bat in his hand because he was going absolutely ape like I just wondered whether he was going to get hit for a home run or something at one stage with Cottonmouth. Yeah, there's some really great lines in this episode, I think, in general, but one of them as well is after getting the news from Scarf that he goes, I'm going to holler at the dishwasher personally and enjoy it, does his trademark laugh as he walks off with the baseball bat swinging. Of course, at this moment, I actually thought he was going to hit an actual dishwasher within the kitchens, and not necessarily that he was referring to Luke Cage, like he referred to him as the dishwasher in the funeral home in the mortuary. A great line.
Yeah.
I think he has another good one as well. Nothing humbles a man like gravity.
Oh, great line.
In relation to what he does to Tone, like really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. I love
great
this.
Scene.
I love this. And I suppose, again, it's probably the fact that Cottonmouth has underestimated Luke Cage. Of all the people, like, Luke Cage is still a 6'2", 6'3", huge guy. I think Cottonmouth underestimates him because he's given him a job as the dishwasher in his club. And that's the reference there. He's kind of going, not that guy. He's been in my club. He's been here. On the attack, he's been challenging me all the time. in the mortuary.
Yeah.
He challenges him. And I've been saying this guy will be nothing. I'll take it all out in him. And he's the guy that's behind all this. You know, I am going to have a talk with that guy with my baseball bat. You
Well,
know?
yeah. But how tall is, Cottonmouth? I mean, because up against Domingo Colon,
We'll
it
get
was
into
just like, that was so funny. It was like little and large.
All right. But Chris, do you want to give us a point?
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. John paid me back there for like me having 2 parts in my part 1
Yep.
point.
That's
But,
why we call it doing a job.
John, yeah. No, but I actually agree nearly with every point that he brought out there. Scarf.
So, Chris, what's your final point?
Actually, strangely. So the scarf. This is actually the downside to this episode for me.
Right.
And I understand. I didn't see it, the detachment part. I didn't get that, the part you were talking about in terms of the distance between himself and Misty. It's just when he got the phone call and he stepped away and I was like, oh, okay. I was like his wife or something. I was expecting, and then it turns out it was, Chico. I was like, oh, okay. That's a bit weird, but okay. Didn't think about it. And then, yeah, as soon as I saw the shot of the car, I was like, oh, they're both gonna get like a drive-by shooting.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like how, then he started taking off the tie and I'm like, oh no, don't go down this route.
Really?
And then when they made him, a pig on the payroll, I was like, oh, it's been used so much.
Is it a trope?
Yes, it is a trope. I didn't want to use that word, but I used the trope because it's a trope. It was so overused. It's like there's always some cop who's dirty. And I was just hoping they wouldn't, but I understand from a story perspective.
Yeah.
It was only when I was like, okay, now this does set things up in terms of, we now know then the potentially that he'll probably frame Misty for something,
Interesting.
and that's how she gets kicked off the force, etc., and how she ends up with Luke and the Defenders.
Yeah, one of the comments from one of our listeners, Rebecca Bodura, was that actually we've hardly ever seen Misty Knight in the comic books on the Force. You were introduced to her in the comic books as former police officer Misty Knight, who was on the NYPD. There are flashbacks in the comic books to her being on the Force, but there wasn't like comic after comic. There wasn't, a year of Misty on the Force, and then she becomes Misty Knight, superhero or hero for hire. It wasn't like that in the comic book. So you're probably right. There is definitely going to be a reason why she's not going to be on the Force, but she seems so behind it in the conversation with Scarf. She seems so behind the concept of being a police officer in New York, especially when there's superheroes flying around, Very specific reference in here to the incident that happens. Scarf talking about, the Avengers. He was there on the ground at the time when the Avengers, were in the city, and that's what made him realize that being a cop ain't nothing anymore, all you do is paperwork. But he's happy enough to do the paperwork rather than take a bullet in his ass, as he says, which I liked.
Or they'd rather have a magical hammer than a gun.
That's very true, yeah. I think a very specific reference to the Avengers, much more so than we've seen, I think, in the other shows.
Yeah.
The other shows, am I right? Yeah.
We got like Daredevil season 1 was probably the biggest call out.
Yeah.
We had 2 of them in terms of the incidents, and then we had the guy in the metal suit and the big green guy.
Yeah. But it's not, I suppose the big integral piece in there was about, the fact that Hell's Kitchen had been destroyed, and that's why Wilson Fisk was trying to rebuild it back up. That's where he got all his money from, was the rebuild of Hell's Kitchen after the incident. In here, it's much more affecting to the common man, is how it's being called out. It's, I was a cop, I was a great cop, and then these guys came along who can kick hell out of aliens coming to attack the planet. Well, what the heck am I here for then? A great little moment between the two of them. So the disconnection that you were talking about, John, that you were seeing between Misty and Raphael Scarf, when you're saying disconnected, I was kind of going, well, that's justified. He's sitting there going, well, there's heroes that can take care of all this stuff. What am I here for anymore? So I could see, I wasn't expecting him to turn. I wasn't expecting that he was on a payroll of somebody else. I was just thinking, well, he's completely disconnected from his job because he can see he's battling an uphill battle every day of his life.
Yeah.
But it was more than that for me. I didn't mean that he had a different view on superheroes and vigilantes. No, it was more in the hospital scene where Misty Knight and him are questioning Chico for the first time. And I mean, she kind of leaves after kind of pressing in on his wounds, just like being, that was pretty
Awesome,
brutal. But he lingers back as she's gone. And you kind of going, would that happen? And he kind of gives that prep talk and all this and then flicks him his cards. So that's why he gets the call.
Yeah.
So that only he will get that call. Like he's setting it up and, you know, he kind of is saying, you know, we've got to get him to call us rather than, us trying to go over to him and get whatever confession out of him.
I just saw that as their play. That's
No,
how
I know.
they interrogate people.
I know, but there was something about it for me that, on the basis of, episode 1 and 2 were, you could tell they were, partners, but it didn't feel like a Cagney and Lacey partnership, or, you know, it felt,
For all of you 80s.
or, you know, a
fans.
Lethal Weapon. It felt like there was some distance there between the two of them, that maybe they weren't close partners. Like sometimes, you know, cop partners are normally kind of portrayed as being like family. This seemed a bit more different and a bit more separate.
Yeah, because her father was a Boston Celtics fan and she's a Pistons fan. So clearly, clearly that's the reason for their distance, right?
But do you guys not think that this would have been better being held? So all of a sudden he ends up with a bullet wound and then he says, like, it cuts, we don't see the scene, we don't know that he killed him or gave up Luke's identity, to Cottonmouth, and that this was held as a surprise for later.
It is interesting. They're hitting similar kind of, it's not like they're taking stuff from Daredevil. I don't want to make it sound like that, but they're hitting some of the beats that Daredevil were hitting in episode 7, 8, 9,
definitely,
season 1.
definitely.
And they're hitting them in episode 1, 2, and 3. And I'm not so sure it's the wrong thing. I can't say it's the wrong thing right now. I was really surprised by Scarf being traitorous to the NYPD. I would have thought that someone like Misty's partner would be completely on the up and up, completely on the right side of the law, and she would know if he wasn't, is kind of my feeling. But she's going to have a big story arc here directly after this. There's 3 episodes in, there's loads more of the show to go. So potentially that's her big story arc, is she's going to realize that Luke is on the right side of the law and her partner isn't soon. So what does that do to her, and where's her character going to go from there? So I'm not going to be able to say whether this is too early, unless, you know, the last 4 episodes are Luke and Misty sitting in a park for, you know, hour after hour going, what are we supposed to do in Harlem now?
We've cleaned it all up.
Like if they've run out of storyline towards the end of the series, yes, it's too early, but this is a big reveal. And it is very early in the season in comparison to what we've seen in the other shows.
And it's definitely familiar, but at the same time, I'm kind of there going, well, as a crime lord in Harlem, you downright need to have a cop on the payroll. It's a reason for it, and that's because it's just good intel for them. And absolutely. I mean, you know, again, he's got the connections through his cousin, you know, with regards to the politics and all of this. But he's looking at it purely, within Harlem. Yeah, it would have been quite nice just to have something where Chica goes missing. You don't really know why. Maybe his body washes up, in the Hudson or something like that. And obviously, you just couldn't have had the bazooka ending, quite frankly, because that would have definitely come out of left field. You would have needed something.
You could have actually, though, a Deep Throat style moment where you would see Scarf, but he would be completely shadowed. His voice would be kind of like modulated or something, and
exactly.
that could still, so you could still hit all the beats, and we'd be like, who was this mysterious man in the car park underground?
Yeah, or even that he got taken out as well and maybe just injured, so that it really, you know, felt like it was all out war between these gangs and the cops. You know,
I just think, I don't know, it just didn't sit 100% right with me. This reveal so early. I understand probably why they're trying to do this. Maybe we'll probably go into episode 4, 5, 6 and go, makes complete sense, you know, but the way we review it, it felt like a trope. It was an easy way out. Yep, your cop's dirty. There you go. This is how we're going to get all the answers. Right. You're going to get that style very quickly. It was just, I don't know. It just didn't sit 100%.
Right. Well, let me pop on to the next point. I think we talked about that quite a bit. My next point is something that sat really well with me. I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier on. It's about Domingo and Stokes meeting. I love this idea. I love that we've been following Stokes now for 3 episodes as being the big bad. They've mentioned Diamondback a few times as being his boss, but now we've got Domingo in here in the mix as another member of the crime community in Harlem, I suppose, if you want to call them that, but another person who completely disrespects Stokes. Another person who's saying, you think you're in a higher tier on the ladder or a higher step on the ladder than you are. You're nothing. The reason why things happen in this city is because, well, I can't do everything. And your work is such small potatoes in comparison to mine that I allow you to carry it out.
Yeah.
And then he declares war on it at the end with some Milky Ways, which I think was quite fun. But,
I thought it was Snickers.
No, they're little Milky Ways. In Ireland, they'd be Mars. Little Mars bars that he's pulling out of his pocket, eating half of and throwing them on the floor.
Yeah, that was
so
like,
intimidating.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Especially for a guy who looks about 5'5", maybe.
I love
with the towering moment of Stokes standing over him, seething, and if there wasn't 2 other guys there, or if this guy wasn't the leader of another big gang in Harlem, he would have pummeled him to death on the floor of his club.
It's small man angry syndrome.
Absolutely.
It beats like 6'6", any day.
Yeah.
Like, it's proper scary. But I mean, I still felt like Cottonmouth was just gonna crush Domingo's head or something. Like, it was so intense, that whole scene. And, each time the wrapper went down on the floor, each time half the chocolate bar went down on the floor, just the look on Cottonmouth's face, sort of the seething anger that was happening. His safe houses are being taken out. He's had his shipment of guns taken out. And now, there's pipsqueakers in his, club, disrespecting him and the club in this way. And just the expression of anger was so cool, on Cottonmouth's face. And I just thought, okay, Domingo is going to get, his head crushed like a melon, or there's just going to be all out like firefight or something. But I actually love that it didn't work out like that. And that ultimately, I think what we're seeing is that probably Cottonmouth thinks he's bigger than he actually is by a long shot.
Yeah.
He's not the kingpin of Harlem, for want of a better word. That is Diamondback.
Maybe.
He's
definitely higher on the...
Yeah, he's higher on the food chain, exactly. And then we see Domingo effectively come in and slap him down, quite frankly. Yeah. He wants his money back. And, okay, let's see how this declaration of war goes. But I mean, small, angry man. Reminds me of a lecturer I had at university.
A small, angry man.
Yeah, taught climatology, and was a Kiwi, and he was angry all the time.
Really?
They do
and about 5'6".
Yeah, see?
They do call it Napoleon syndrome for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally, there is a thing, and it's the same reason, like, there is that, anecdote about, men with, small feet and large, flashy cars have an appendage that would be smaller than average, and thus they make up for it. I think that's probably the best way I've ever explained that in the world, without swearing, without using any of the bad language. I managed to get my point across by a lot of substitution there, but everyone understands what I'm talking about.
Yes, definitely understand.
But apologies to anyone who is 5'6" out there. Not everyone is obviously a small, angry man.
But yeah, I love this moment. Well, another little meta thing that I liked about it is that obviously another one of Netflix's big shows is Narcos. I love the fact that you've got this guy who's representing that side of Harlem as well, a completely different culture in Harlem, and a much higher, level in Harlem, the Harlem crime syndicates. I love this because it feels like a crime show set in Harlem again. Really like those moments. John, do you want to give us your next point, or have you ran out of all your points?
No, I've got about 5 more points that I could do.
Okay, so you started with 10 then, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
It's R.I.P. Genghis Khanis, blasted off the planet by a fairly vengeful Cottonmouth.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, well, sweet sister.
Uh-huh.
Like, it was bazooka time. I mean, he didn't so much holler at the dishwasher. Yeah, he pointed a bazooka at the dishwasher
Mm-hmm.
and blasted an entire building to smithereens. I really hope Genghis Khan is, still breathing under all that rubble.
Yeah.
I think it did look like Luke Cage was was diving towards her so that he could, put his abs over her and, protect her. But you never know. If he has unbreakable skin, he could actually
Crusher.
crush her.
Yeah.
So
thought about that.
yeah, I'm hoping Genghis Khan is alive and well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that it didn't particularly shock me or jar me, in terms of what happened relative to the previous 50 minutes.
Yes.
It did feel a bit left field, but at the same time, the more I've thought about it, the more I thought, well, are these the hammer technology weapons that we were talking about? If he's got them, and if he potentially knows that Luke Cage has this unbreakable skin, is he using this to make sure he finishes the job and kills Luke Cage? So there could be that, but I also think, given Domingo and Cottonmouth's exchange, given the relationship between Diamondback and Cottonmouth, and even I think with his cousin Mariah, there's an element where Cottonmouth feels like just a big kid. And for him, he's like, I'm going to show this punk what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And grabbing a bazooka rather than, say, an Uzi or a handgun probably made him laugh. I love his laugh. It is slightly maniacal, a bit unhinged. It's like he's not fully in control. And so for me, the bazooka does make sense after thinking about it. But at the time, I was like, what? It was that cat gif where it was like, completely. But I did like it in the end. And I just hope that, Connie's alive and well.
Yes, definitely agree with you. It came out of nowhere to me, when watching it first. I think all I needed actually was maybe just one line from Scarf, who'd worked out that Luke Cage was unbreakable. He is one of those guys. He's one of the powered people. He doesn't say it to him. He doesn't say it to Cottonmouth in the conversation that he's a powered person and that's why he survived.
Yeah.
He said there's one guy responsible for this. It just needed that little bit. I know you could easily make that leap. This is a city that has heroes in it. You can easily make the leap that this is a guy that's super powered.
Chico made the leap.
Yeah, absolutely. So
And if Chico can do it, anyone can do it.
Very
He's not
true.
the smartest.
But what I mean is, at this moment in time, we don't.
Yeah.
Cottonmouth hasn't
Shouldn't.
kind of said it explicitly.
Exactly.
No, I mean, I agree. It's not that he can't know. It's just that you didn't see it on screen, at least.
Yeah, I feel he does. Like, I feel that's the reason why he's brought the rocket launcher with him, is because he knows this is a powered guy and he's going, well, hundreds and hundreds of bullets didn't do it. I saw the place after the fact. I've seen the videotapes of it.
Yeah.
Hundreds of bullets didn't do it, so maybe a rocket launcher will.
That's true, actually.
But
the
he
video.
is so angry. I can see it. The whole concept of this guy is totally obsessed with money. He's talked about it over and over again. He went and shot up, a bunch of places trying to get the $1 million back that was taken by Chico and Shamik. He went and, took out so many places for that. And this is basically what's happened to him in this one day, is that every
absolutely.
single location around the city
80%.
where he stores his money, that was all taken. Then it was pushed back to Addicts, and then all that money was taken as well. So he's lost almost all of his money in one day by one guy.
Yeah.
He is so angry, and I get what you're talking about, John. He's almost like a child here. He's going, I am gonna destroy everything that belongs to this guy.
He should have rocked up in a tank.
Pretty much.
Like,
What was it, like Flight of the Bumblebees playing over two loudspeakers? That'd be amazing.
You know what? If
that would have been hilarious. Yeah, Wagner.
You know what? If Luke survives this, I wouldn't put it past him in a future episode for that to happen.
Okay, can I just one thing? The CGI of the building was terrible.
Really?
I'm sorry. Come on. It just looked so. It looked like something from like almost 5-6 years ago.
I kind of know what you mean, but it wasn't so much the building falling down. I think it was the explosions fireball going
Yes.
up the building looked a
It just
bit
looked
dodge.
off. It just,
Yeah.
Right.
it wasn't. And I'm wondering, okay, this could be multiple. Now I'm speculating. It's either potentially all Netflix's stuff is filmed in 4K
Okay.
and then it's downscaled
Right.
for the 1080p, 720, 480.
Okay.
I'm wondering if it looks
Better in 4K.
better in
maybe.
4K and it's just been kind of pulled down.
So, listeners, if you want to send us in €2,500, we'll go and buy ourselves a 4K TV
Yeah.
and get a 4K subscription and then
Just
check
to make
that
sure,
out.
yeah,
Just to make
you know,
sure.
just to make sure, like, it is important.
Should we open up a Patreon for
Yeah.
that?
Just as would. We just need
What,
the 4K.
tequila? You don't know your tequilas at all.
No, I don't at all. All I know from Patreon is that's where you get sponsorship and stuff.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's a nice range
Should
of
we?
tequilas.
So should we
as well.
set that up to get a 4K TV? Do you think?
No.
Yeah,
No. Okay. No.
But it did look off. I'm really sorry.
Right.
It just that I've watched it 3, 4, 5 times.
But it's a bit splitting hairs, though. I mean, yeah, you could kind of tell, but it was fine.
So for me, I'm a bit of a fidelity nut in terms of I am.
Yeah, really?
Like computer games. Like it needs to be smooth. Screen sharing just takes me out of.
Right.
I like to be in. If I'm bought into something, a computer game, a film, a book, when something jars you out of it,
Right.
it's just
That's true.
It just kind of oh yeah, I'm watching a TV show.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh wow, that looked amazing. And like, I'm not saying that I need something from like a budget the size of like the Avengers.
Of course. Of
Like,
course.
it's just something went wrong with that. It shared a bit. And I just want to see, did anyone else notice it? It could be that it's just me, and that's fine because screen share annoys me and drags me out. So this,
Do you know what I'll say in response? I don't know whether the CGI took me out of it as much as a rocket coming across the screen. Honestly, because I was not expecting it at all. When the rocket goes off from that moment onwards, my jaw was on the floor going, okay,
It was,
they've blown up a corner of Harlem with a rocket launcher. This is not how I was expecting this Wire version of Marvel or Marvel
Yeah,
version
okay.
of The Wire to go. I was totally taken out of it. I was almost expecting that Luke was looking up, seeing the rocket come towards him. I was almost expecting him to reach up and grab the rocket out of the air and throw it back or something like that. Because I'm
Wow.
going, this is now a comic book moment because you wouldn't see this in The Wire. That would be weird, you know? So I thought it
You
was
don't
gonna be
even
this
see
big-
that in Daredevil or Jessica
Yeah,
Jones.
I thought it was suddenly going to be this big comic book moment where you're going, right, okay, we're now 3 episodes in, you're bought in, you're going to watch the show now.
Yeah.
And now Luke's going to do something straight out of a comic book here. He's going to
That
bat
would've
that
been
right
actually-
across the street again. You know?
even the backhand.
Yeah,
that
something
would have
like
been,
that.
or he stepped into it.
Bazooka
and
tennis.
it kind of like just the
Something like that.
Wow, that'd be cool. But it's more, you know, the one where they step into it and it explodes around them.
Yeah.
And then you would see Luke Cage shirtless, kind of, with it all kind of singed and burned off. And then you would have Cottonmouth going, ugh, what? That would make sense then because he maybe didn't know he was powered before.
Yeah, that would be cool. But can you imagine if a bullet to the head gives him a headache, still gives him headaches?
Yeah.
Yep.
A bazooka to the abs would give him stomachache.
Well,
for
we've
a
seen him
long
do
time.
worse to the abs. I'm pretty sure his abs can take it.
Possibly.
Well, that's true.
But remember, what he's also got to put up with here is not just the bazooka. He now has, 7, 8 stories of a building sitting
Yeah.
on top of him for the next episode, you know?
I hope he saves Connie.
I hope so. I hope so too.
Definitely. But I think one of the other things that as well that I wanted to quickly say as well was just that it's coming back to you talking about the money aspect. You know, it is all about the money. Like that exchange between him and his cousin Mariah on the bench and in the club, I think again just shows the difference between the two of them. Okay, maybe they're not necessarily the goodies in this show as such. But I'm talking more about Mariah here. But it's like,
Oh, no.
you know, she says, you'll get your money back. I've lost my name, and people will effectively start coming and sniffing around the Crispus Attucks building because that's her political headquarters. And I love the fact that, you know, for him, money is king.
Yeah.
For her, it's reputation. It's her name.
Yeah.
It's her standing. And, you know, we go back to their Mama Mabel, and the stuff that she had done where she was bribing local politicians effectively to get like a park and children play area set up. So it's really interesting kind of history being brought out.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that again, we see this difference between the two of them, even though, you know, they're not the best people. She is not about the money, and Cottonmouth evidently is.
Yeah, and this was my final point. I'm just going to throw in a little bit about it here as well. I love the conversation between the two of them, because he's almost saying to her, I don't know what world you're living in. You wouldn't be able to do any of this without me giving you the money. You're doing nothing except you're a front for our money. You know, he's suddenly taken away that whole thing that we thought she was actually a legitimate candidate for an election in New York. He's saying to her, without me, or without you just standing in front of a camera saying that you're here to sponsor New York, we wouldn't be able to just clean our money. Like, you're just a washing machine. That's all you are.
Or a dishwasher.
Basically a dishwasher, yeah. And he's effectively saying to her, you know, the concepts you stand on, your ideas, your knowledge, all comes from me. All of the money comes from me, and the person that you're following, the person that you believe you're following into a political career, was actually someone that just bribed other governors in New York. That's all Mama Mabel did, was bribe other people. So she was much more like me than you're like her. Yeah? That makes sense?
Yeah.
He's kind of calling her out immediately about the whole idea of her political career is nothing. She's just there to cover up the money.
I think what they've done with this show is so we look at Vincent D'Onofrio in Daredevil. He was not an antagonist. They wanted you to relate to him, but you didn't really. You relate to him maybe on an empathy level, but not what he was doing and the way he was doing it.
Yeah.
This is where they've gone and created antagonists, full-on antagonists. They've split the role of antagonist into two, and goes, okay, Cottonmouth, he just wants to have control of Harlem. That's what he wants. But she wants to make things better, and she's very believable. And he's going, okay, look, my evil deeds are funding the way of life and the way that you want to do things, and I will do it. So they're trying to make you almost like and agree with the antagonists to a degree.
Yeah.
Like, cause the way she's, the movements that she's talking about in the first two episodes, the things that in front of the TV, like, aside from the very racist, make Harlem black again, or keep Harlem black or something, was one of those, that was slightly weird. But the rest of it is kind of like, it's Black Lives Matter, and like, they're trying to make you go, okay, I can kind of see, okay, I don't agree with the drug running, or, well, not drugs, sorry, gun running, but he built Harlem's Paradise. And that is a successful club where everyone goes in Harlem.
But he calls her out so much in this discussion. She says to him, we're just here trying to make sure that we have a rejuvenated area in Harlem. That's what we're here for. That's what we're working towards. He goes, no, that will never happen. The reason why I set up this place in this area of Harlem is because people overlook it. It's where all the crap happens. It's where all the drug addicts are. That's why I've set up this area to store my money, because nobody comes near it.
And he wanted, they said the new affordable housing would just be projects again.
Yeah.
And that's what he calls out and says, they're just going to be projects.
Exactly.
Like the old ones before.
So he has no belief in what she wants to do at all. He's like, you're there playing with dolls. I'm getting all the money, and I'm going to get more money, and I'm going to keep building up on my money stores if I can get past this little moment. Final bit for me on this, just a little call out. I was going to save it for my notes, but because we're talking about the comparison between Cottonmouth and Mariah, I like that he calls out that she's also got a nickname that she absolutely hates. So another little fun connection between the two of them. She's Black Mariah, he's Cottonmouth, and both of them react the same way to their nickname. Don't ever call me that. Which I thought was a nice little call out.
At least she doesn't look like Black Mariah from the comics.
What's Black Mariah look like in the comics?
She's a, do we all remember the Blob from X-Men or the Brotherhood of Mutants?
Yeah.
Basically that.
Really?
She was introduced in Luke Cage at issue 5, the very beginning. And Luke punches her, and because of her, gland issues where she retains a lot of water, she falls through the floor.
Okay.
She was that big.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, okay, it was a great call out, lovely Easter egg. And obviously maybe she gets hit with, now she goes into a depression spiral and eats lots of donuts and becomes Black Mariah.
Maybe.
That could be how they bring her in, but I don't think so.
No, maybe not. But I did like that there is a connection between the two of them, and they both have their nicknames that they hate. Yeah,
Absolutely.
really cool.
Chris, what's your next point?
We actually found that Pop's real name is Henry Hunter.
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Which is really cool. And I like that they still then kept referring to him as Pops later on.
Yeah.
But we did find it. Now, I did a bit of digging. I can't find any Henry Hunters, even though it's an alliteration, sounds like something Stan Lee would do. I can't find a Henry Hunter in the comic books that should be linked. I could be wrong, but I couldn't find anything. But more importantly that, I still love the fact, John, you alluded to it earlier in terms of forward, always forward.
Yes.
Yeah. We called this in the kind of beginning, and then pretty much the last two episodes, we called this in both of our episodes, in that this is the origin story. This is the Uncle Ben. This is the driving factor for Luke Cage in this series. But more and more, Luke's driving factor is death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
Reva's death.
Yeah.
Now Pops' death.
Yeah.
This is becoming his combined Uncle Ben. With great power becomes great responsibility style.
Yeah.
It's like this is, he has one which is forward, always forward. He will drive himself. He will make Harlem great again.
Yeah.
And then my gut tells me we'll have a third one, the Trinity of the Death.
Maybe.
That will make it to a point where, okay, that's what makes him go, okay, I can't just look after Harlem.
Okay.
Now I need to be a defender.
So let's just talk about that. In this episode, he talks Chico into getting out of his hospital bed, joining him on the right side, and reporting to the cops. Yeah? If he hadn't done that, Chico'd still be alive.
Yep.
Right? So is Chico already the third part of it?
Could be.
Luke has talked him into doing something against what he would have naturally done, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a possibility, yeah.
And I think
the third
we'll find
death
out
on his list, I guess.
his ledger.
Ledger.
The red ledger.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know if it's going to be fully Chico. I think Chico's the one that's going to make him not believe in the cops. And then I will be the hero. It does make Chico, we'll find it. Yeah, that makes sense with Chico. I wasn't having that racial connection. I was thinking maybe someone else. So maybe he has to kill Shades, or he do very much a Superman, the Man of Steel kind of scene where he'll snap someone's neck and go, no! Okay. I think there's something.
Death looms over him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Or maybe it's Connie. You know, like we've just
Yeah, it
possibly
could be
lost
Connie.
Connie in this
Yeah.
episode. Again, if he hadn't been in the location with her,
Yeah.
she wouldn't be dead, maybe.
I just think he's going to need something that's going to drive him outside of Harlem. So he's been driven.
I don't want Connie to die.
No, I don't either. Don't worry.
No.
Don't worry. We haven't seen episode 4. We'll see if he is the superhero that he needs to be, or whether this is going to be another driving
I
force.
loved the way she said the food wasn't that good when he
Yeah.
hands over the bundle of notes. That was so good.
That was
nice.
good.
And then she got blown up.
Well, she could be powered. Her power to,
Yeah.
I don't know. She maybe makes her super powered dumplings.
Like is Genghis Connie a reference to the fact that she's been around since the Genghis Khan times?
Or she grows in size like the Hulk.
Maybe.
And then you just see this, like, she, straight away her hair melds into, like,
Madame
Genghis.
Gao in disguise.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go completely beyond the realms of
What do you
possibility
guys
for
think?
Luke
Do you think
Cage,
this is a very much a death-focused driving force storyline?
without a doubt, it feels
Yeah.
like Luke is becoming more and increasingly pushed by the people around him and by the loss of people around him. This is one of the central portions of his character from the start.
But
You know,
kind
right-
of isolated as well.
Yeah, but right the way back to Jessica Jones. He arrives in that city as a person driven by the death of his wife. And it's only episodes into that show that we realize Jessica knows who his wife was, knows what happened to her, and he doesn't, you know? That whole pressure that comes from being in that situation, being tied into loss and tragedy, seems to be continuing to push him.
But it's also that isolation from the losses, but also, I mean, even with Chico, he doesn't seem to have a warm relationship with him in any way. And he certainly didn't with Shamik. I mean, he's not devastated in the same way over Shamik and Dante as obviously with Pop.
Yeah.
You know, similarly with Misty Knight at this moment in time, like he is and has a cool relationship despite getting into bed with her. You know, there is that kind of standoffishness because she's suspicious of him and he thinks and is equally suspicious of her because of her lies to him.
Yeah.
So it's not only that he's losing people, but he's isolated from other people that are still alive. I mean, with the exception probably of Bobby Fish at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great moment between the two of them in this episode.
That brings me to my last point. It is with Bobby Fish. I love that exchange between the two of them in the barbershop, sort of just eulogizing about Pop. And you know, I love the fact that, you know, Luke Cage there is like saying, go and tell me who won, you know, thinking that it was always going to be Pop, you know, almost kind of, putting him on a pedestal as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, Bobby Fish just comes back and he says, just because the brother's dead, it doesn't mean I'm going to start changing the facts.
Yeah.
Like, I was the one that won, you know.
Every time. Yeah.
And I love this. And I love the moment where he says, you know, I'm not going to take the king out, Cottonmouth. I'm going to take his rooks and I'm going to take his bishops and I'm going to take his knights, you know.
And his queen.
And his queen. Take them all off the board and then I can deal with him. I love that kind of strategy of the game that Pop and Fish played. And this coming into Luke's sphere. But yeah, I just thought that whole part of this episode was fantastic. And I love the fact I'm not going to start changing the facts. I beat him.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just bringing Luke back down to Earth, saying, you know, this guy wasn't a saint.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you could imagine the way he would think about it, that, you know, he wasn't the best at everything, but what he did have was wisdom, you know, really good.
Yeah. And I really like the idea that Bob Fish has been in there. He's been doing the accounts for Pop. That's why he hangs around playing chess all day, every day. He could no longer see him because Pop got too busy and then came working for him. But he's still a grey character as well. He still kind of, you know, gets the money from Luke to sort out the place, you know, the 80 grand he needs to sort it out. And takes it and goes and uses it. He goes, I'm not going to ask any questions because then nobody can question me about it. Which is, if I'm right,
ask no question, tell no lies.
Exactly. Ask no questions, tell no lies, which I think is almost verbatim what Leland Ellerslie said about what Kingpin does with his money. It's very much I don't ask those questions. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to sort out the books and take care of the money, you know? So I like that little, there's still a grey area in there as well with them. But yeah, some great scenes between those two characters.
The reason I loved these scenes in particular was the chess analogies.
Yeah.
I think that is hopefully what we'll see in that maybe so Pops was the mentor about getting your life on track, doing the right thing, where we'll see now it's like, okay, you need to start thinking of your battles and your war as a chess game.
Yeah.
You take out the rook, you take out the queen, you take out X, Y, and Z before you go for the king. I think that was interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice analogy for the whole. My gut tells me basically we've had the Notorious B.I.G. King motif in episode 1. I don't know what we had in episode 2. But then we had this chess piece around being a king. And
I suppose chess did play a reasonably big part. That's where Turk and Bob Fish were playing chess throughout the episode. So, and then Turk made his move. So, you know, maybe that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is that all our points for the episode?
It is, yes.
It certainly is, yeah.
Couple of notes, I'd
Yes.
say, about the episode.
Definitely got a few.
Got a few notes, absolutely.
Chris, do you want to give us a note?
So I do. The first note I want to give is just the question out to the two of you very quickly in terms of how is this going to escalate? In that this is a wired, realistic, gritty show about a man with unbreakable skin, super strength. Yet we've seen no other powered people.
Mm-hmm. I know.
And it's starting to make me curious is that we talked about could Shades be powered?
Yeah.
But we basically need someone who can either meddle with Luke's mind again, or you need someone
Like Kilgrave, yeah.
Yeah, like Kilgrave. Or you have someone else who is as powered, because even Justin Hammer's guns and bazookas, they're not gonna break a man's skin when he's unbreakable. Unless it's a powered, styled, kind of, it's a weapon designed to take down Thor.
Right.
Which potentially
It's
could possibly. I think the presence that we're missing is the other powered element.
Right. I'm conscious of two things. Number one, we still haven't seen Diamondback. We haven't seen that character. It's been mentioned every episode
What's
since the
harder than
start.
steel? Diamond.
Absolutely. So there is a possibility that in this version of the show or in this version of the character, we will get a powered Diamondback. Somebody else that maybe went through the experiments, that he's met him before. There's a possibility of that. And the second thing is, again, 3 episodes in, we've had 2 Avengers mentions. They have mentioned that this is in the universe where, although it's only Harlem and it's a small area of New York, it is the city where the incident happened. They are fully aware of other superheroes in the city. So I think it's entirely possible we will get another powered character. And I think they are laying that in to the show. So you're not just thinking about this as Marvel's, Wire. You are thinking of this as a reality-based show in Harlem, but in the world of superheroes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Like, if Mariah Dillard is Black Mariah, she could turn into the Blob, surround him and suffocate him.
It's true.
So there's different textures, like, it's what can kill. I mean, I'm totally making that up. I'm not expecting that to happen at all. But it is like what different properties can overcome, the man with unbreakable skin.
Yeah.
It's something harder or is equally as hard, like a diamond.
Yeah.
It's something with a different property, something maybe more like water or a gel that can surround him, or it's someone getting into his head and messing with his mind. I mean, we did have in Jessica Jones where, they were trying to rescue him in the hospital.
Yeah.
Again.
And that was just shotgun to the face. If somebody doesn't know how to take care of that, you never know.
And the
That
thing
could have
is,
killed him.
there's other systems and other parts of his body that can shut down and ultimately kill him. So, I mean, he's still vulnerable. I'm wondering if after having the bazooka at him and then the building fall on top of him, whether maybe there'll just be like a little plaster on his forehead. A bit like when Captain America
a Hello
almost...
Kitty one.
Yeah.
Just a little Hello Kitty plaster.
It's almost like the same kind of idea as when, Captain America just nudges Thor's hammer, where in Stark Avengers Tower in Age of Ultron, it's just that same kind of thing where it's like, yes, he is unbreakable, but this almost broke him.
Right, okay.
Just slightly, like it's a graze or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Now, we are all speculating on the fact that Luke survives, because we haven't seen episode 4, obviously, but, this could be maybe it's flashbacks from now on, and this is the final scene of episode 13, Maybe they've been setting this up like the way this episode started at the end of the attack. So I'm really hopeful that this hasn't killed Luke Cage.
Or the Defenders, or potentially Iron Fist.
Exactly.
Do you know what worse? We'll see a flashback in episode 4, and then it just fades to black, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 are just black. Right. It's just empty space.
Yeah, you never know. For me, just one of my notes that I wanted to make was the conversation between Chico and Luke. We talked about it a little bit, but it's just a great moment for Mike Coulter in that scene when Chico goes, is describing Attucks and saying to him, it's like Fort Knox. It's got concrete everywhere. It's got walls that you can't break through. It's got just one entrance and one exit. And you can see on Luke's face where he's kind of weighing it up going, concrete everywhere, walls, one entrance, one way in, one way out. Do I know a guy that can break through concrete and walls and go in one entrance and come out and make his own entrance out? I do. It's me. It's a great little moment from Mike Coulter, just the way he's reacting to that conversation with Chico. I just think it was fun. It was like, I'm like a tank. I could do all of this.
No, that was
You're not telling me anything. It's not like it's booby trapped or it's surrounded by people that can stop me. It's just guys with guns, machetes. Yeah, grand. I can take care of them. Really, really good little moment, Mike. John, do you have another note?
I do have some notes, yes. I love the exchange between Luke Cage and Misty Knight in the corridor, the sexful, lean in,
yes.
and he goes, this time you can bring your handcuffs. And like, you just see, Raphael Scarf's face, you know, of like, the dawning realization that these two have had it on.
Yeah.
And like, he brings that up later on. But, you know, I love this kind of, you know, slightly frosty antagonism that they have. But I mean, it's also that kind of, machismo thing of, you know, trying to soften it with his quippy, sexful kind of, well, darling, you know, this time you can bring your handcuffs.
Yeah.
Like trying to disarm her in that way. And of course, like Misty Knight, doesn't have any of it. Like she's still completely suspicious. So I love that. You know, Misty Knight is absolutely this strong, woman. I love that even with, Luke Cage doing that kind of, thing to try and bring her off balance, she still like stays the course and is still focused. So
I love her concept that, you know, that nothing really bad, or not that bad, had happened in Harlem for a couple of weeks. And then Luke Cage arrives, and what happens?
Yeah.
So, you know, he worked for Pop, he worked for Cottonmouth, and she sees him at the Addicts location. So now she thinks, is it him that's causing all of this stuff? So I love that little way that she's connected them all together.
definitely.
Yeah.
We have the Greek Anthora coffee cup,
That's right.
that Misty Knight has. In the station, the police station. So we have that, and that was also, on Daredevil and on Jessica Jones, I think, as well, the coffee cup.
Yeah. A well-known icon of New York, apparently. Real coffee shop in New York where lots of production companies get their coffee for background to kind of set up the fact that it's based in real world New York. So,
Yeah. So,
nice little touch there.
that was the other one. And then my final note actually is just that great scene where Luke Cage goes and attacks the second safe house, and it's just after he's come through the door and he's done a few punch-ups, it just focuses on the drug addict, the woman on the sofa, absolutely spaced out, completely drugged up. And then the camera pans round and you have Misty Knight and you have Raphael Scarf there, asking her really, really visceral. I mean, really a strong statement of, you know, drug abuse and so on. And you see, you know, Misty Knight sort of realizing that, you know, she's not going to get anything from this girl because she's absolutely off her face on drugs. Yeah. And it's like, I thought that was absolutely a fantastic moment.
It was, wasn't it?
Within this episode. Really good.
Yeah.
What did he look like? Fine.
Yeah, it was so good. But is that the reason why Misty made the connection that it is Luke at all these locations? You know, does she think he's fine still as well? She does, of course.
I just have one other one. Did any of my eagle-eyed guys notice anything books related for our book watch?
I didn't actually.
No. Unless I think our book watch maybe.
I think book watch may be dead along with Henry Hunter and Pops.
Possibly. And Connie,
And Connie.
Oh, okay.
Poor
No,
Connie.
just I had to put that out.
Yeah, no book watch this
listeners, if anyone I know saw one that we maybe missed, answers on the back of a postcard.
The Bible in the mortuary, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that could be it. Derek, do you have any final points?
No, I think that's it. I'm just trying to work out who's going to take the weight on this episode. Chris, do you defend this episode of Luke Cage, episode 3? Who's going to take the weight?
I do. If I'm gonna score it though, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5.
Okay, still a recommend.
It's still a recommend. It's still good. It's just some of the points that we've discussed, like the slower pacing. For me, the jarringness of the end scene, but I think that's just potentially me with the visuals, but more Scarf's twist. I think it was, they almost fired the bullet too early with that one. And I think they could have got away with more. It's still a great episode. It's still, every reason we talk through it, it's the reimagining of his origin or origin 2.0. This is what makes Luke Cage Luke Cage. I'm eager to jump in to the next episode. And the following ones, obviously, per se. It's just, there was something slightly off with this one. It's not that it wasn't, like, it had great scenes, it had it had like one or two bad scenes, and that shouldn't affect it as a whole, but I think it was just I really think it was just the scarf spit.
Right.
The more I think about it, I'm like trying to like rationalize it in my head. I think it annoyed me that it was so early, because I think they could have made it a lot bigger, more explosive reveal from that, because that is going to change Misty's world, Luke's world, Cottonmouth's world. That's set all this up. I think you could have done it slightly better. Right. And I think but I understand why they're doing it early though, because otherwise it would have felt, we would have been complaining, oh, but they waited too long and now it's all rushed. All the results of this reveal have been rushed too fast.
Right.
Yeah. But overall, yes, I do recommend it. I do defend it. It's a defendish. All right, John, do you defend this episode of Luke Cage?
I do defend this episode of Luke Cage. I'm going to give this 3.5 Virginia Slims out of 5. And obviously we learned that that's skinny white guys slang. So yeah, I'm giving this 3.5. I think this is a really good episode. I took so much out of it. I think there is an element where the bazooka rocket feels a bit off kilter, but I've kind of resolved that and I'm absolutely fine with it. But in this, I loved the exchanges that went on from Misty and Luke in the corridor of the hospital, Cottonmouth and Mariah on the bench and in the club, between Raphael and Cottonmouth. I really liked between Domingo Colon and Cottonmouth. All of this I thought was really, really good. I just thought the exchanges between all these characters in this episode was fantastic. I know it was only a note of mine, but I do think that the lingering scene on the drug addicted woman on the sofa in the safe house, I think was absolutely poignant. And I mean, actually stood out from the rest of the episode as well. And maybe on the other end of the scale of from the bazooka element of it. But, I'm really hoping that Genghis Khani is still alive and that Luke has put his abs to good use and can support the weight of the building. I really do. I think Genghis Khani is such a great concept of a restaurant and a character. I'm really looking forward to that. The whole corridor fight as well, giving that moment.
Absolutely.
Seeing the pig on the payroll. I mean, there's so much that went on in this episode. I could even say, having resolved the bazooka element in my mind, I would give it 4 Virginia Slims out of 5 as well. It's certainly as good as the previous 2 episodes. So, it's a really strong episode. And I can't wait to see how this bazooka is going to effectively, blow apart this series and see, what is going to happen. As Chris said, what are the ramifications now of this? How is this going to play out? What's when Cottonmouth sees that he's still alive, what is going to happen? Are we going to see the supervillain come out of the woodwork? Because now that's the only way you're going to be able to deal and take down, this new threat for Cottonmouth, which is Luke Cage. Because he's been set on that path. And I think finally, it's just the fact that it's coming from such a poignant relationship, that he is now well on this course to being, a force for good and combating the crime on the basis of Pop going up to the big barber shop in the sky.
Absolutely. It is very interesting. It's something we haven't seen in the other shows, really. This attack, and I just didn't think about it until now, this attack in the middle of Harlem with a rocket launcher to a building in the middle of Harlem is pretty public.
Yep.
It's more public than anything we saw in Jessica or Daredevil. A lot of that stuff was taking place on rooftops and behind things that were going on. Do you think there's going to be a pretty big reaction in Harlem to the fact that there's a guy that survived the toppling of a building on his head from a rocket launcher in the middle of the city?
It depends if he's seen.
Possibly,
So
yeah.
it's more, I imagine he's going to kind of scamper away.
Right.
And then it's like,
I'm not
what
so
the
sure.
hell happened to...
I'm expecting a building exploding in the center of the city brings along the press helicopter, brings along the police very quickly, and he's going to crawl out of that pile of trash, as the unbreakable, Luke Cage.
Yeah, and so it is, how public is this going to be for him? Yeah, so it's really interesting.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But the news have played a huge part so far in every episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Derek, do you defend this episode of Luke Cage?
I do defend this episode. There were three big central characters pulled into this episode. All three of them did a great job. You know, Mike Coulter as Luke Cage, obviously his storyline taking place alongside Cottonmouth's many different storylines, and Misty Knight as well, playing another central role in the show. Loved this episode. Really loved what was going on. I think possibly after 2 seasons of Gotham, and our coverage over there, I'm probably not as shocked when something like somebody with a rocket launcher walks out and blows up a building in the middle of a city. It's not an unusual occurrence in Gotham, so it did surprise me that Cottonmouth would do something like this in the show. As I said, I was a little bit taken aback, but afterwards I'm kind of going, okay, it makes a bit of sense. I can rationalize it pretty quickly, probably because of those 2 years on Gotham. But but this is a very good episode, another strong episode in the show, and is making me really excited to see what's going to happen in the rest of the season. And really interested to see what the ramifications are going to be in Harlem as well for these characters. So another strong episode for Luke Cage.
Excellent. I think with that, we can move on to some feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So from episode 3, we've got a few bits of feedback that have come in on Facebook. Derek Whitfield has the same kind of feeling as myself. He really enjoyed the "Nothing humbles a man like gravity." Really good quote, absolutely. And
It's great, isn't it? I love that
Yeah.
Stokes is telling Luke that the murder of Pop has been taken care of. Don't you worry about it. But the way he tells him with that line is just hilarious.
absolutely. And actually, that's one of the things from this episode which was really good as well, is, you know, that apportioning of blame. It's that, you know, Chico is kind of like, what happened to me is still on Cottonmouth. You know, is it Tone? Luke is kind of saying, what's happened to Pop? That's on you. You can't take that away. Whereas Cottonmouth very much is like thinking, look, I didn't mean this to happen. He went outside his brief, basically. And look, I've dealt with him. And there's that really nice kind of moment in the mortuary where he just hands over the little wallet of presumably a lot of cash to the funeral home director
Yeah.
to say, just this body can't exist. Really creepy.
And nice little touch with Scarf later on, calling that out, that he knows that that's what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a good touch.
So, really good line, which is picked out there by Derek. Thanks for the feedback there, Derek Whitfield. We also have from Doug Green, just finished episode 4, loving Misty Knight. As does Chris.
Yep. Enough said.
No, we all love Misty Knight, but what a great portrayal of such a fantastic character on the screen. Really good. Simone Missick is doing a really fine job bringing this character to life.
Definitely.
I love what you did there. Thank you. Thank you. No, I don't want to sound like some pervy 12-year-old.
But you will.
But I will. Simone Missick's character is fantastic. The way her portrayal is fantastic. Her delivery as an actress is fantastic. Absolutely. And I really do. I'm loving her as that character, and the actress who is delivering this. She's on a level where we will see probably, could she overtake Mike Coulter as the face of this kind of the standout star? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but it is really cool already this weekend as the show airs. There's been some interviews with Simone Missick where she's confirming that she's going to be in Defenders. So we are going to see Misty Knight back in Defenders. So that's quite cool. So
definitely.
I know they're bringing over a bunch of characters from each of the shows that are going to be coming together in the in the miniseries Defenders. I think we think it's going to be about 6 episodes, right? So
I think so.
Might she get her own show like Punisher did?
Could be.
You know,
I think
Heroes for Hire, possibly.
I think we'll need a little bit more. I think we will need her to drop off the NYPD. I think we'll need her to get potentially a form of superpower, to get the metal arm, or to get something like that. I don't know whether we're going to get her as a spin-off show just as a detective. So hopefully we'll see a bit more of the character and see what happens.
Well, they could end up with a procedural style cop show.
Potentially.
Yeah.
They could do anything here with Marvel and Netflix. There's so much more time that they can fill out with Marvel.
Absolutely. And then our final comment came in from Ronaldo. This isn't so much about episode 3, but it's more of a general comment. Here's a thought. Would Black Panther's vibranium claws or Logan's adamantium claws cut Luke Cage?
I thought this was a fun one to put in. There is an ongoing discussion over on our Facebook group at the moment at facebook.com/groups/Defenders TV podcast. Just on this point, because Luke Cage is obviously on this weekend. Just wondering if we could have something in the MCU or in the expanded Marvel universe that could cut Luke Cage's unbreakable skin.
Well, I think I mentioned on the Facebook page, the scientist in me wants to test this hypothesis. So, I mean, unfortunately for Luke Cage, if it worked and they did actually cut him, he could die from this experimentation.
True.
Unlike when he was in Seagate Prison. I think what we're kind of, from the discussions, it's that depending on maybe the comic series involved, that he can be cut, or that he can't be cut, or that his power and his strength ultimately neutralizes any threat that there is of him getting cut. Like, he's strong enough and still unbreakable, steel skinned enough that, okay, it gives him the fighting chance to deal with the adamantium and the vibranium claws that these two might have. But,
I really love these
really
I really love these nerdy questions, especially because everybody in our group, there's quite a few of them that are big comic book fans, and nobody actually has the answer to this. So it doesn't seem like there is a Luke Cage versus Wolverine comic book, for example. There doesn't seem to be a Luke Cage versus Black Panther comic book. Or the movies coming up. So
No.
It's interesting. I wonder.
One good thing to just remember is that Logan's not in the MCU, so it's pretty much just Black Panther at this point we have to worry about. It's fine.
Yes, and that's only if Luke Cage crosses over into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that whole thing, about, depending on the writer, comes from Cale Hensley as well, who I think has done some research on this, so thank you, Cale, for that insight. Absolutely. Like, I think someone had also mentioned, and I think it might be Cale, that in one of the series, Wolverine has been asked to open up Luke Cage so that they can do some kind of surgery or rescue him. So, I think Cale had found out that kind of story that had happened. So, yeah, it kind of depends on the situation, I suppose. But luckily, they're generally on the same page. It's not like they're foes. So I know that with Wolverine, as one of the Defenders previously, it was, I think it's at the same time as Luke Cage being the head of the Defenders. So, their paths do cross.
They do, absolutely. And obviously he is a member of the Avengers as well. So he has had connections with most of these characters. It just doesn't seem to come up very often, does it?
No, but I now that scene's been said to me, I'm starting to remember it.
Right.
I think it's not the Secret Avengers.
It might be.
I think it's in Secret Avengers after one of the battles, maybe.
Right.
I'm not sure. That, or it's the New Avengers second arc, because Wolverine was in the initial arc. Right. He would have been the second arc of this New Avengers.
Interesting. But I did want to throw out the question here on the podcast so that, maybe some other people want to weigh in on the discussion. We always love the who would win kind of discussions. But that's all the feedback we have from over on our Facebook group. Thanks so much for joining us for the episode, and thanks so much for sending in your feedback. If you want to send any emails to us about your thoughts as you watch through the episodes, just email us at feedback@defenderstvpodcast.com, or you can join us on the Facebook group. Or if you want to record your thoughts, you can always record them over at our website at defenderstvpodcast.com. Just click the send voicemail button and you can record 90 seconds of your thoughts, which we'll discuss on one of our future episodes.
Absolutely. And please, go to defenderstvpodcast.com/iTunes, subscribe, leave a review. Also on any other good podcast catcher for Android, just search Defenders TV Podcast and subscribe to the podcast there. I think with that, we will be back Tuesday, the 11th of October with Step Into the Arena, episode 4 of Luke Cage, where we will discuss our 5 points of that episode, on Defenders TV Podcast. Remember, forward always. We'll be here next time. Thank you for listening.
Always forward. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. Bye.